Greetings from Sedona. I'm Matthew Cosgrove. Been doing earthwork for more than 30 years. We've been traveling around different parts of the world. The Southern Hemisphere, Peru, Bolivia, Central America, Mexico. We've been through Europe, Eastern Europe. But this week we're in Arizona, in Sedona. Here there are supposed to have been, we read, like 7 vortexes in this valley. The scenery here is absolutely stunning. The red rocks, and we have found energy centers. The first one we visited actually was the most potent. It's called Bell Rock. The base of it is shaped not unlike the Great Pyramid. I was there last winter. It's actually probably almost the same size as the Great Pyramid. Just to give you an idea of how big the Great Pyramid in Egypt is. But this one, unlike the Great Pyramid, this Bell Rock is very, very active energetically. It's functioning like a pyramid. You know, you have the inverted pyramid underneath the top part, and we found there are portals above it, and there's interdimensional beings, extraterrestrial beings above it. It's a very potent energy center, so it's attracting all kinds of different beings. The extraterrestrial, what seems to be dominating though, and it was keeping the earth elementals restrained, and so we'll be going back there today to work there again. So that was the first, most important portal that we found, is Bell Rock. And then we went to Boynton Valley, which is supposed to have 2 vortexes, male and female, at different parts. Arriving there, what I perceived was that there was a very strong vortex, but it was wobbling. It was like in this state of wobbling, like when you spin a top, and when the top slows down and it starts to wobble back and forth. It was a bit like that. I could see, and then when we sat there for a time, I could see there were 2 vortexes, one within the other. There was a blue one. It was rotating clockwise, and there was a green vortex within the blue vortex, rotating counterclockwise. So you had this energy going down, and you had this energy going up. Very, very sophisticated. And they shared the same axis point. So there was 2 axis points in one axis point, so they were rotating at the same point, and we used the energy of the group we were with. We used our own central channels. We became the vortex to stabilize. So when we left there, the energy had shifted. We could actually hear it humming, like the 2 vortexes spinning in unison, and it represents the male and female in perfect balance. And when those 2 forces come out of balance, then that's the greatest source of disharmony on the planet. So that was our experience in brief about the Boynton Valley, and we also connected with this feminine energy. The native have a name for her. Kachina woman, very powerful female energy there. She seems to dominate the place, and there's actually a column of that represents the Kachina woman, and yeah, that was a very good vortex too, although it was really in need of harmonization. And then the third vortex, very famous here, it's known as the most powerful vortex. It's called Cathedral Rock. Approaching Cathedral Rock, we felt a great disharmony again. Something was very, very off, which when you do have a power center and it's off, there's consequences, you know. So as we went up the rock, I became aware that I could see a vortex under the mountain, under the rock, but it wasn't coming to the surface. It was being dissipated or harnessed by something. So it didn't take long that I perceived an elemental being, which the type of elemental it's a fourth dimensional being, usually created by humans, their thought forms. Anyway, it was an elemental being I saw as this great serpent coiled around the mountain. And it looked at me, and it took the form of my face. So I was kind of looking, for a brief moment, I was looking into my own self. I was looking into my potential false self, if I would buy into it. So that energy it's being harnessed to nurture the false self of whoever goes there. At first I thought, boy, this is very danger here for the group, and we probably shouldn't work here because we don't want to open to that energy, and maybe it's not even our business to work here. And however, we decided to not actually work, but just to maintain our true selves in the face of that energy. And we did do a little energy work, a little chanting, like a prayer, and the serpent did diminish in size. Those types of energies you can't combat. You can't combat them directly, because you just give them more power. Because in essence they're not real. They're only real with what we charge them. They're only real by our belief in them. But they do have a certain power. You know, they can become dominant even if they're not real. Just like our false selves, we can be dominated by our false selves, even if they are a reflection of our fears and so on. So that was the Cathedral Rock. Leaving there, we felt joy. We felt harmony. I didn't look back to see how it looked after we left. If the serpent, I didn't even want to, for some reason. You know, elementals, or even even vortexes, can be just like humans. They're not the same. They're not a whole lot different. You know, when humans can relate to their false selves, either the ego self, and be taken. We can be taken by the ego, or by the dosha. You know, and we create a whole persona, a false persona, our false self. So, in a sense, that vortex was in that state of immaturity, basically, and the choices it makes, the same as the choices we make, are very defining. So in that sense, we just let it be, let it come to its own realization. Today we're in the airport Mesa, which is supposed to be a vortex. It feels excellent. It feels really, really good here, as it does in this whole area. The whole area is a kind of a vortex, but there's no specific, from what we perceive, there's no specific vortex here. It's just like the flow throughout the valley, and amazing vistas. You know, that's why I think people say it's a vortex. And the other one we did was the Chapel of the Holy Cross. That was, again, it's. We went in the actual chapel. We didn't feel good. We felt a great disharmony, like it had been plunked there. You know, it had been plunked there, and it was stealing the energy. The chapel was stealing the energy of the place, and it was like perched. There was a lot of forces are just to maintain it, being in that position. It's forced. There was something forced. We didn't feel that is a vortex either, but it faces Bell Rock, which is a vortex, and it's a kind of a curve like that, and the energy kind of swirls around there from Bell Rock. It swirls around, and it's not an actual vortex, but it's like a curve in a river. It's like a curve in a river where you feel the current. It's not the source of the current, but there is a current there, and it creates. If you've ever been on a river in a canoe, you realize there's eddies, where there's places where the current might hit a rock, and it creates an eddy, a swirl like that. So we decided to call it the Chapel of the Holy Eddy, or something to that effect, because there's not an actual vortex there, as that we could perceive, and the chapel itself, we didn't think it belonged there, and these hills and mountains are sacred. You don't need to put anything on them. You don't need to put your belief system, a big crucifix, or even there's like a Buddhist thing, you know. It just feels out of place because it's already sacred. To put religion here it's like a sacrilege, you know. Organized religion it's forced. You're putting something there and saying this is this is the way it is. And so this afternoon we're going to go back to Bell Rock, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk from that place, from that vortex. And so thank you very much for listening, and until we meet again.